In today's session, we are going to discuss about the Python module and packages. So what are modules? Modules and packages are the way to organize your code so that you can handle multiple different codes in a different place and modules. Imagine a scenario that your company is building a website like Amazon. There are so many different things to consider. For example, you have employees, you have customers, you have products, you have the shipping and delivery departments, etc. So in order to handle the functionality of each of this area, like shipping, delivery, etc., you're going to probably create a separate packages, and inside that packages, let's say one package for customer. Inside the customer, you can handle different aspects of customers, the customer address, name, etc. So that's the reason to build modules and package. And let's discuss how we can build module and packages in this session, and let's try to slowly understand these concepts one by one. Now I have opened a Sublime Text. You can use any other editor for your preference. Under Sublime Text, I am in a folder called Python. So here, let's say I'm just creating a new file, main program. Let's say this is my main program .py. I'm saving this main program. Now let's say, to check if this program is working fine, I'm just trying to print hi. If you do Command B in Mac and Control V in Windows, so it will execute. So it has executed. Now if you just expand it, you see there is a program called main.py. Now at this point, I'm just creating one more file. Hit save, Command S as save, then name it as test module.py. So inside that test module.py, what you could do is basically you could define a function. Let's say you can define any functions. This is for your example. Now let's say I'm just printing a statement. I'll say print from test module. I've saved it. So this is a function. Now I'll come back to my main program. Here what I can do, I can just import. The simplest thing is import test module. I've just imported test module. Now I can just call test module dot print mod. That's the function I gave, print mod. And I can call this function. Let's hit Command or Control B. There is a issue here, so we have to define this function. So now if I just run it again, expected an indented block. So I have defined this function. Now if I just run it again, so basically in the test module I have defined a function, and that function prints the statement. Now from the main program, I'm just importing that test module, and then I'm executing it. Now there is one more way, another way we can handle this one. For example, instead we could also do like this. We could say from test module import print mod. That's the function, and I can just comment this out. I can comment this line, and because I'm just importing the print module directly, I don't need to call test module.print module because I have already imported the print module. I could just execute just like that. Now it also works. So there are two ways to import. So basically you could also import the directly function if you want to do it. Otherwise you can import the main packages and then call main packages dot the functions. So there are both ways you can do it. On this context, let's try to understand one more thing. Is called name is equal to main. Now imagine a scenario. So now we have two Python program. How Python knows which one is the main function and which one is the module. So the answer is basically, if I want to, I could also literally run this. I could actually here I could also give another print statement, let's say print test. Okay, and I can just execute this as well. You see, it is also executing, but it is supposed to be in my module, and whereas this one is my main program. So when I am executing this becomes main program. When I'm executing this, the main program becomes the main program. So, and you could basically check this with the help of a special keyword called if name is equal to main. So what do I mean by this? If you do it like this, if underscore name underscore equal to uses a quote underscore main underscore, then I could say, let's copy this, print not main program. Okay, now let's try to run this again. Okay, if I do Control V, you see this is print from test module. Okay, so basically it's just still doing the same thing. However, it understands that means this statement must be true. This must be true, otherwise it won't execute. Okay. To make it more understandable, let's do one thing. Okay, if I just copy this whole statement in the test module. Okay, if I say, I'll just change this statement here. I am the main program. Okay, now imagine that this test module is a module which we are importing from the main program. Now if I run this, let's see what happens. You see, it has printed that I am print from test module, and then but first when you are calling this import, right, when you are calling this import, it is trying to execute it. It's going here under the test module. First it's checking this, it is not only importing, it is also checking these conditions. Okay, now because that is not main program, it is coming to else. That means name is equal to main became false, so it came here. Now first it printed that I am not in the main program, and then it has executed this function which says print from test module. Okay, so this is how name is equal to main works. Okay, now to moving forward, what I could do is, let's create some packages right now. Okay, so let's imagine that we are creating a package for book. Okay, for books, okay, you could imagine multiple modules for books, like, okay, books have authors, books have genre, books have ratings, etc. So let's do that. First, what I'll do is I'll create few folders under this folder. In this level, I'll create few folders for books. Under books, I'll create another folder called author. I'll create another folder called genre and another folder. Okay, I'm in this Python module. Here I have this main program and test program. What I'll do, I'll create new folders. First, I'll create the folders called books. Okay, now under books, I'll create few other folders as I discussed. It's called another folder called genre, another folder called ratings. So under authors, I can even, if I want, I can even create sub modules. Okay, I could just say like domestic and foreign, let's say. So I've created these folders. Okay, let's go back to our area. So here you can see these folders now. Now I have books, authors. Under authors, I also have domestic and foreign. I have genre. I have ratings. Okay. Now, when you are trying to import a package, right? So you need to create another convention. Basically, for every package, in order for Python to understand that it is a package, you have to create a special program. Special Python program is called init. So under each of this folder you have to create a new file, just like this. You have to create a file like underscore underscore init underscore underscore dot py. Let me copy this name. So I'll create one init.py under books folder. Then similarly I'll have to do it for all other folders. Okay. Now here I'm creating another files init.py. Now yeah, under genre I'm creating another files init.py. Under ratings another file, under ratings new file init.py. Similarly under domestic init.py, foreign init.py. Okay, so I've got init.py almost all in all the folders. Let me close this. Okay, now I'm still on the main program, but let me delete these things. Okay, now what I would like to do is under each of these folders I'd like to create few more programs. For example, under author, let's say I want to create two programs called, I have two authors. Let's say I have two authors. Let's say I have authors William Shakespeare and the authors Agatha Christie. So what I could do is under this I can just create two new files. I'd say save this as williamshakespeare.py. Okay, now here let me define a function called read. Let's say I'm reading this book. Okay, so I'll just do a print. Say I am reading William Shakespeare books. Okay, now let me copy this function. I'll create another file. Okay, let me save it. Now let me create another, where am I? Yeah, under authors, let me create another file, new file called Agatha Christie.py. Okay, now here let's change the name. Okay, so I've created two files. Similarly, under domestic, I can create another file. By the way, you can give any name here. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm doing it, but you have to just import a similar fashion. So let's say if I go to domestic, I create a new file here. It's called, let's say, domestic.py. Okay. So here again, let me define this function. Well, by the way, it doesn't have to be only read. It could be any other function like write, listen, etc. Okay, you can define as many functions as you want. To give you a, just I'm doing it for a demonstration purpose. Okay, and this name doesn't have to be read. You can change it any other name if you want to. Okay, now similarly, let's go to foreign. I'm creating another file called foreign.py. Here I'll just give another, I'm reading foreign books. Okay, similarly, let's go to genre. Let's say that I have two new files here. One is called horror. Okay, horror.book. I'm just saying I'm reading horror book. Similarly, I create another, let's say romance. Okay, so I'm just define. Okay, so I have just created. Okay, now let's go to ratings. Okay, let's create two more files here under ratings, and first file will be, let's say, good.py. Similarly, let's define a read function. Okay, now I'm creating another function called pour. So I'm reading for ratings book. Okay, so I'm almost done with defining all the functions for our demonstration. Let me close all of them. Now let's see what we can do with this. Okay, so let's go to our main program now. Okay, now first what we can do, we can just do it something like that. Let's say I define from books. Now you see under books there are yes, for example, simply I can do like just like that, import book, and if I execute this it will work because it is able to import the books. Okay, but we can't do anything yet. To do something, let's say I want to read Agatha Christie books. What we can do is we can just call like from book.authors. Okay, from book.authors import Agatha.py. Agatha Christie, sorry. Now if I just call Agatha Christie.read, okay, let me try to execute it. Yeah, You see it's printing that I am reading Agatha Christie books. Okay. Similarly, if I just also import, if I want to import William Shakespeare as well, William Shakespeare, now I could also do like that. I do Command P. So I'm reading Agatha Christie books, I'm reading William Shakespeare books. So that's a way we can import author. Okay. Similarly, if I want to read the, now let's try to read the genre, say horror book. I want to read the horror book. How we can do it? I can just import just like that, from books dot, instead of authors I have to do it like genre, import horror. Okay, now instead of that, now what I can do, I can just also do like this, horror dot read. See, I'm reading horror books. Now let's say I want to also import other book, let's say romance. Okay, now similarly if I do it like that, romance dot read. Okay, now if I execute, now see I'm reading Agatha Christie book, William Shakespeare books, horror books, romance book, etc. You get the idea. Now let's say I also want to read the good books. Okay, from books dot ratings, import good and poor. Let's import all at once. Now here what I would do is remove this space here. Yeah, could do like this, good dot read, Command B. I'm reading good books. Similarly I do poor dot read, Command B. I'm reading 4 books. Now you might be wondering, now you see there is, under the authors you have domestic as well as foreign. Okay, so that means there is one more layer under it. So how we can import it? Basically you can import it like that, from book dot authors dot domestic, book dot authors. Okay, yeah, book dot authors import domestic. Okay, you could do it like this, domestic. Now you can call domestic dot by. I hope it works. Domestic dot read. No, it won't work. Book dot authors dot domestic. Actually it won't work because it has another folder. First you have to import that folder, domestic, because books dot authors dot domestic import domestic. Okay, if you just run like this, then if you call domestic dot read, so it would work. Okay, now there is another concept called, all. There is another keyword called all. So let me just clear this up to demonstrate. Let's say I don't want to import good, poor at once. I want to import a star, but I still should be able to read the good and poor book. Okay, I don't need all this import. Let's go back. So let's say instead of books.rating import good and poor, if I import star now, okay, if I execute this, you see it is importing star. But if I just try to write good.read, okay, and try to execute, what will happen? See, it's giving error. It says you cannot find good, even though we know under rating we have good and poor, but it's not able to import. How we can do it is, if you open this init.py, it is a Python function. Right now there's no code in it, but I could define, in order to do this, I have to define a variable called all. Okay, if I define a variable called all, what do you mean with this? Define a variable called all. Under all, you create a list, and under list you define what are the different modules under this package you want to import when people call star. Okay, so this is, you have to explicitly define. This is what is Python's approach, not to unnecessarily import all the modules which we may not need. So you have to explicitly define what do you mean by this star. Now once I have defined it, if I just try to run it again, let's see what happens. You see, now it is able to read the good books. I just imported star. Now if I do good.read, it's open, it's working. If I do poor.read, it is also reading poor book. So you get the point. So basically, instead of all of this, okay, I can do it every other place. So anyway, I think that's it for the today's session. Thanks for watching. If you like my video, please consider subscribing, and please hit the bell icon so that you get the notification whenever I upload something new. Thanks again. Bye.